This is the thing, what I say about life. There's always going to be somebody prettier, skinnier, richer, smarter. And I look at that in TV. There's always going to be somebody who people perceive can do the job that you're doing. And you can't get hung up on that. I have always decided I'm just going to do the best me, do the best job that I can do, so that at the end of the day, I don't have any regrets about my performance. And I think that when you operate with that, we're not looking at the other guy to see what the other guy's doing. I'm just trying to figure out to do the best job that I can do for myself. And that really is how I operate in most things in my life.
So how has Michelle Obama changed over the last few years? We continue our conversation now with the First Lady at the White House, starting with...
You've had an extraordinary career in journalism, one that started at an early age. What about the profession attracted and inspired you?
I think because I'm a nosy kid. When I was younger, people said, "Oh, you're so nosy." And I prefer the word more inquisitive. And I, to this day, as I sit here at 58 years old, I'm still very inquisitive and still very curious about what is going on in the world. And that's really what attracted me. But I majored in psychology at school. I've never had a journalism class because I also like listening to people's problems, which is also good, I think, in journalism. I intended to be a child psychologist where I could listen to children all day and help them out. And when I was in college, I got a job at a TV station, and I was hooked from day one I walked in that newsroom. There was a breaking news story. People were running around like crazy to get it on the air. You're under a deadline. And I was, whoa, I want to do this. And then it was off to the races for me.
Off to the races, but in a field that's very cutthroat, very competitive. When you look at your early career, what was the most formative experience for you in being able to build the skills that have led to the success you have today?
Well, the first job I had was at a TV station in Kansas City. It was the NBC affiliate. And I hadn't been there very long, and I just left the womb, if you will, of people that had sort of nurtured me along the way. I'd been in a year-long reporter trainee program where they train you for a year. You get a resume tape. Oh, don't we love a resume tape? And you send it around the country and you get your first job and you're so excited. I'm there in Kansas City and it's my first live shot live on the air. And when I arrived, my clothes weren't there. I had no clothes. The apartment I thought I was going to get, they had given to somebody else. Nothing was going right. And I called my former mentor, Bruce Johnson is his name, to sort of lament. I was 23. I said, "Oh my God, Bruce, and I don't have any clothes, and I have to do this live shot, and I don't have an apartment." And I'm expecting him to say, "It's okay, don't worry, just go out there." And he said, "Grow up," and hung up the telephone. And I sat there with this, I remember looking at the phone, did he just hang up on me? But in that moment, I knew you have to grow up. You're given this opportunity, you're given this job, and now it's up to you to make the most of it. Nobody wants to hear you bitching and moaning about you don't have clothes, you didn't have the apartment. They just want to know, did you get the job? And I knew then, complaining does no good. Maya Angelou said to me once, whining is so unbecoming because it lets people know there's a victim in the neighborhood and nobody cares. Can't you hear her saying that? I can't do my imitation. And I realized in that moment, right, you have to grow up and solve it for yourself. And that's how I've approached really every single problem I have. What can I do to figure it out?
Are you as excited to be here as we are to have you? I'm not kidding. It was the buzz of the building.
Oh, is that right?
It really was.
I am very excited to be here
because
I understand I get to take the coffee cups with me.
Yes.
A couple of them.
I often talk to people who say that setbacks or failures are some of the most formative experiences in driving their success. So if you think of failure in those terms, what was your most successful failure or setback?
Well, you always learn something from failure, whether it was I'm not doing the right thing that I should be doing. Sometimes failure is a great wake-up call to say maybe you weren't good in that job anyway and you shouldn't do that. Sometimes failure shows you, well, maybe you could have done that a little better. I've had cancellations in my life of shows that didn't go according to plan that I thought were pretty good, and you just have to regroup and figure out how to move on to the next thing. A failure doesn't mean that you're not good. That's, in the TV news business, it is so subjective. We are guided by ratings for sure, but just because you're fired at one job doesn't mean that you don't have any value for someone else. Maybe you're just working at the wrong organization. So I've learned you can't take it personally. That's my best advice. Do not take it personally. Even when it feels like they're talking about you, don't take it personally.
What has been the worst piece of advice someone's given you in your career? We so often hear about people saying, this is the best thing, the most formative thing. What's the worst piece of advice someone gave you?
I was told once not to go on an interview with somebody, and I regret that I didn't do that. They said, no, you don't, because I think you always take a meeting, always. Even if it's not a job you're interested in and you know you're not interested. I look back and it was very insulting and arrogant of me not to go on this meeting with this person. Even though I knew there was no way I was interested, but I was encouraged, don't go, it's a waste of your time, it's a waste of their time, but I think you always take a meeting.
If you were writing a letter to yourself of 20 years ago, what advice would you have given yourself or would have wanted someone to give you?
I would want to tell myself to relax, that everything works out the way it's supposed to be. And that is the truth. If you look back on your life about things that you stressed out, or you thought, oh my gosh, he didn't ask me out, he didn't call, I didn't get that job, I lost that job. In the end, quite often, when one door closes, another one opens. And everything, even though you don't believe it at the time, works out the way it's supposed to. The good and the bad.